Hey there, buddy. CFL Jim here for a Week 10 recap. Let's get into it, shall we? Game number one, we had the Saskatchewan Roughriders taking on the Ottawa Redblacks with the game finishing 22-22. That's right, folks. It ended in a tie, but not just any tie. One of the most controversial ties I have ever seen in my CFL watching days. I even talked with the other gyms, and they had just wild takes that they don't even believe that games should ever or could ever end in ties, let alone one like this. So let me just break it down, because everyone's just going to be talking about the end of the game. So what happens? One of the crazier ends just in general I've seen of the game. Saskatchewan's in this game if Shea Patterson doesn't just throw the most inopportune picks possible. They were the better team. They looked like the better team, but Shea Patterson just, boy, you look good, but your moments, you pick the worst moments, my man. But it's a back and forth game throughout. They're just trading blows, poof, 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 and we get to the fourth quarter. Saskatchewan's down. They drive down the field. They score, tie it up. Then all of a sudden, they get a pick. They go down. They kick a field goal. They're up. Ottawa drives down the field. They kick a field goal. Now we're tied. Oh my word. We're going to overtime, boys. Exciting. So, Ottawa gets the ball first. Freaking Justin Crow. He gets in through the grit of his own skin. He barely makes it in, gets the touchdown. Ottawa's up. What does Saskatchewan do? They answer. Touchdown, Riders. We're going to double overtime. Saskatchewan gets the ball first. They're stopped. They kick the field goal. Now it's Ottawa's time to shine. They're going down the field. And then what happens? The Rough Riders defense, especially the defensive line, swarms, gets him. He's down. Game over. Right? Wrong. It's actually roughing the passer. Ottawa gets to move on. They kick the field goal. It's a tie game. Everyone leaves. It's like you're having a really good jerk sesh, like a really good goon sesh, and then all of a sudden your internet goes out. You don't get a finish. You just have to stop playing. That's kind of how this game made me feel. Frustrated, disappointed, but still with a level of excitement, you know? The weather was great for football. The rain just pouring out there. Blocked kicks left and right. And then, obviously, both teams dealing with so many injuries. Drew Brown down. We thought maybe, I was listening to a radio broadcast too, maybe they thought Masoli was going to get in. We don't know what's going on with Ottawa at this point. But, man, it was a fun game. But the command center just had to ruin it, in my mind. In my eyes, and many people's eyes out there. So, take that for what you will. Takeaways, though, for the game, for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You guys are good. You're a good team. Shea Patterson's got to clean some stuff up, but he's still new to this whole thing as a starter. He's going to get better. I have some modicum of faith in this team. The defense, after taking a break last week, came back, stood on business, looked good, and now they're feeling themselves. Come on, Riders. For the Ottawa Redblacks, just get healthy. Honestly, you can say it for both teams, get healthy, but for the Redblacks, for the Ottawa Redblacks, just get healthy. I know I can say it for both teams, but for the Redblacks specifically, get healthy. You're still good. You're still having a great season based on what you've had the previous years. You're feeling good, but you got to look. You got to start to, maybe in the back of your head, just way in the back, start to worry, because the Redblacks haven't really beaten a lot of the winning teams in the CFL. So maybe kind of just going forward to evaluate this team, keep that in your mind. Game number 2, we had the Calgary Stampeders taking on the Toronto Argonauts, with the Argos winning this one 39-25. This is kind of a flip of what happened last week, where the Argos were dominating and up most of the game, and then a late comeback by the Stampeders just erased all that. This time, Calgary, it was a little bit back and forth. Calgary was up, though. Toronto, though, just looking like the better team in the second half. They come out, new life, new energy, and they just, boom, ba-bam, ba-blam. Jake Maier did a lot, was pretty darn good in this game, had two terrible moments, the fumble and the pick six. Ouch. And the Argos better be thinking they're lucky stars that they have Janarian Grant, because, boy, he makes a world of difference for the special teams and the teams just as a whole. He's so darn fun to watch. But like I was saying, kind of a flip of last week. Calgary dominated in yards, but again, you overall lose. Argos just kind of vibing, and this just kind of cements what I've said about Calgary, not just this year, but years past. They are the benchmark team. They are mid. If you're a capital G good team, like I believe the Argos are, you're going to beat the Stampeders. If you are not a good team, you will lose to the Stampeders. That's just what's going to happen. Take a look at how it's all played out for the Stamps this season. They've beaten the bad teams. They've lost against the good teams. Now, take that for what you want against the teams that have lost to them recently, but BC. But, that's just kind of how it is. The Calgary Stampeders are mid. Takeaways going forward for the Stampeders. This is kind of where you're at right now. You got Jake Maier. You take the good with the bad. Your defense is all right. You have some good weapons, but just nothing like screams fantastic, you're all right. You're lowercase g good. For the Argos, you still got to figure out this whole quarterback thing. There's going to be an even bigger controversy once Chad Kelly gets into the mix. I know there's a lot of people that are mad about him coming back. He undoubtedly would bring a lot of energy to this team if they allow him to come back and the locker room accepts him back. They would have a new sort of oomph to him, and they'd be in a good spot, but there's still some controversy there, and you don't know if you want to bring that onto the team. So there's still a lot in the air with the Argos going forward. Game number 3, we had the Hamilton Tiger Cats taking on the Montreal Alouettes, with the Alouettes winning 33-23. And the Ticats look rough. Especially early on in this game, they could do nothing right. This started off bad, got worse, got a little bit better throughout, but overall, not a good showing for Hamilton. That too little, too late. Montreal, they're in a great spot right now. Normally, when you lose your starting quarterback, you're worried, but honestly, the way Davis Alexander has been playing, I dub him Alexander the Great. He has been so good. So darn good. And the momentum this team seems to have at the moment clearly plants them at the top of the CFL in my mind. Hamilton, on the other hand, Bo Levi, maybe we're saying bye-bye Bo, because Taylor coming in looked pretty darn good. And I get it, Bo Levi Mitchell's had some good offensive performances. Also leads the league in interceptions. Also has had some real bad stinkers out there. If you know what I'm saying. He started off this game terrible. He was on a short leash already, obviously. So there's something, some going on there between him and the coaching staff, or someone on there going,
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Anyway, this game was alright. It was sort of a fun game. If you're a Montreal fan, it was fun. For us neutral people watching this game, I just have to say it. Watching games that take place in Montreal is almost unbearable. The horns are so grating that I wanted to claw my ears off. Now, takeaways for the Hamilton Tiger Cats going forward. You guys are a mess. Clean yourselves up. Evaluate yourselves. Figure out what you're doing at the quarterback position. I think Bo's probably done for the season because this team's awful. Why not see what you have with Taylor anyway, So maybe get a little lifeblood in there. You're still... The season is not over by a long shot just because the season is so long. We're barely scratching the halfway point. But just kind of evaluate. Use the rest of this time to evaluate, perhaps. For the Montreal Alouettes going forward, you're feeling yourselves. Your defense is great. Your offense is kicking. Just keep this momentum. In game number 4, we had the BC Lions heading into Edmonton to take on the Elks, with the Elks winning this one 33-16. You heard me right. Edmonton winning at home against a top team. I understand. BC, you guys have been sliding since week 6. I haven't had a win since early July. But this is still crazy for the Elks. A 2-game winning streak, Didn't think I'd see this one coming. They are undefeated this season with Trey Ford as a starter. Speaking on that, you gotta wonder if he's gonna be okay. I think they did the right thing, not putting him in. You're up. McLeod Bethel Thompson looked good enough in relief. He looked rough at first, but he came in, looked good, and you have another week to kind of feel out and see where Trey Ford is at. He got hurt, and I'm just, for everyone's sake, for especially Edmonton, but for the viewing CFL public, we all hope that Trey Ford is okay. BC though, gosh, just rough. You gotta get Vernon Adams. Dolagal is fine, and you've been struggling with Vernon Adams these past few weeks anyway, but you're still a way better team when he's in than when you're not. And they kind of did this last year where they just had a mid-season slump, sort of picked it up at the end. They're doing that again. They have way too much talent, and they've shown way too much offensive capability to be doing what they're doing right now, especially against a defense like Edmonton. Like, their defense played fine, really good defensive performance, but this is also a bad offensive showing from the Lions that we just aren't expected. It's been two really bad offensive performances in a row, which you're worried. If you're BC, you're officially worried right now. Edmonton, you're cloud nine. You guys were down here, now you're up here. You're feeling fan-friggin-tastic for the BC Lions going forward. Gotta right the ship. You gotta figure out what's going on. You guys are slipping, falling. You were up here, now you down, bad, not good. You got to just figure out something to right the ship. I don't know what, but you got to do something for the Elks going forward. Light them up, boys, because it's time to celebrate. Elks are the Grey Cup, right? I bet the Elks 200-1 to make the Grey Cup. I'm feeling fantastic. This team has momentum. They have the city behind them. The fans are invigorated. They're feeling good. If you could just keep this going, ride this train, you're loving life right now, boys. That'll lead me into my audience question for the week for you guys. I have a simple one because it's on everyone's been talking about it on Twitter, Facebook, all over on social media. What would you do to fix the CFL Command Center? I put it in the garage. I'd make me the rules czar, and I would just get a little buzzed and do the most fun thing possible in each situation. And I'd only evaluate, like, game-deciding plays or challenges. Keep it simple. Let the refs ref the game. Don't get involved when you don't have to. Okay, folks, that brings us to the CFL Power Rankings of me, CFL Jim, for you, the CFL fan, from the CFL Week 10 post-partum area of the CFL, in between Week 10 and 11 of the CFL. This day on my CFL Recap for you, the CFL fan, by me, again, CFL Jim, CFL. Now, it's almost impossible to do a legit power ranking right now. Mine's the only one that you should really care about, but you really only have Hamilton down at the bottom, Montreal up at top. Everyone else is a wild card situation. So here's mine. Hamilton down at number 9. They are awful. They're a mess. They're not good. At number 8, I actually put the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Didn't play this week. Had a great win the week prior, but still, there's a team above you that's feeling themselves that I think has looked better in their wins. And that is my number 7 team, the Edmonton Elks. They're climbing. They're slowly climbing up the ladder. At number 6, I have the Calgary Stampeders, the midpoint right here. Everyone below them, not good for the most of the season. Everyone above them, for most of the season, has been pretty darn good. At the number 5 spot, I have the Toronto Argonauts. Still kind of a mess of a situation at quarterback, but overall, pretty good. Pretty darn good. At number 4, it's the BC Lions. They've just been falling. Can't help themselves. Puts them in the 4 spot. At number 3, I'm going to put the Ottawa Redblacks because I have them and Saskatchewan like neck and neck. It's so close. But I think the Rough Riders won that game. I really do. I get that it's a tie, but this is my power rankings, okay? So you make your own, put Ottawa wherever you want, but I'm going to have Ottawa right there at the 3 spot. At the 2, it's the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. The defense is good enough. Shea Patterson has been improving. Again, looked pretty good for the most part. Just some really, really bad interceptions that he's got to clean up. I still believe that this team can be dangerous. And at number one, it's the Montreal Alouettes. No question. They look like the best team in the CFL, bar none. And that'll do it for my Week 10 CFL recap. Whoa, buddy. We're coming to the second half of the season, and I'm so excited to see how it plays out. The playoff race is going to start heating up any minute now. We're going to see teams that secure their spots. We're going to get pathways for teams like Edmonton and Winnipeg still. There's a lot up in the air, and I am so excited to see how the rest of the season plays out. See you next week, buddy.